What is up, everybody? I hope everybody's doing great. The stream is going, and I'm leaving Scrivener just on the corner here to make sure that that slight peer pressure writing buddies is on. Anyway, it's not pressure; it's just encouragement for every one of my darling writing buddies. By the way, we hit 250 subscribers on the channel. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Made me feel real happy. And today we are going to talk about job market interviews. And this is, I have to say, this is my personal opinion on what questions should you ask. At the end of the interview, people tell you, do you have any questions for us? What questions should you ask during when the opportunity arises? Okay. And this is my personal view because obviously I'm part of the group of people interviewing job applicants in my university, and and obviously these are the questions that I think work, but it doesn't mean that if you ask the questions that I'm telling you not to ask that you won't get a job, okay? And also that if you ask the questions that I like, that you'll immediately get a job. Okay, so this is just my personal opinion. I've been a director of research for 5 years, and I do around 100 interviews a year. So I mean, I've been around. So hopefully this is useful advice for you on job market. I know it's really rough, but I'll just say really want to encourage you to keep on and avoid giving up academia if you want. I know not always easy. And obviously if I can help, feel free to send me like your letters and statements and so on. Happy to give feedback. And if you think you're a fit at TSEG, do let me know. Anyway, so what we're going to do today is 3 questions that I think are good questions to ask in an academic job interview. Again, this is you're applying for a job, right? You're applying for a job. So at the end of the interview, typically we'll tell you, do you have any questions for us, the management board of the school? So 3 questions to ask and 3 questions to avoid asking. First one, which I think is a little bit counterintuitive, is ask questions that make people feel good. Okay, sorry, one sec. Okay, sorry, I just had a message from my management team WhatsApp, so I just wanted to make sure it was not urgent. Okay, so. What are some questions that make people feel good, So the question that has succeeded the most in this is, what do you like the most about working at your school, or what are you proud of achieving within the past year or the past 2 years, right? So my own sense in answering this question, seeing other people answering this question, is that this really brings like the positive vibes to the interview. And so this will associate you with positive vibes. Maybe this is a little bit of a Pavlovian sort of argument of the bell rings and the dog salivates, but for sure, this is something that will make people feel good. It can also provide you a little bit of information about what are the priorities for the school and what sort of leadership the school has. So for example, I do think that we have great leadership in the school, and I always say that as one of the things that I like the most about the school. If people say this, I think this is a major green flag that the school leaders complement one another, if it's genuine. In our case it is. So this is provides you a little bit of information, but really associates yourself with super positive emotions. It's a nice way to wrap up the interview. So that's definitely one that is counterintuitive. I haven't seen it asked a lot. I would say I see it 5 or 6 times a year. So a good tip there. Second, questions that match the school culture, and obviously this needs to be something that you're really interested in. So I guess the meta advice is, don't try to be manipulative or do a lot of impression management, but definitely if there are things that you're interested in that you think are aligned with the school, definitely ask. So these are questions that match the school culture. So for example, at ESAG, we value a lot interdisciplinarity and writing across departments. So, a question that you can ask is, how much co-authorship is there across departments, or how much joint projects there are across departments, or how much joint teaching is there across departments, right? So that's very much something that matches the school culture, and this will basically signal that you're aligned with the school culture. Obviously, my advice is this needs to be genuine, right? Because people can tell. I mean, everyone in academia is smart. Some people in academia are qualitative researchers and they're trained in the observation of others and in listening carefully to what other people are saying. So yeah, needs to be genuine. So, this is a good example. And for this, I think it's important to meet with faculty, or at least some of the the head of department before this meeting, and ask what are the important things about the school culture, so that you can ask these questions in an effective way. Okay. Third thing, super important, are questions for red flags. Okay. So this is very much personal. So, I don't think there are obvious red flags unless, it's things like sexism and racism and so on, obviously. But other than that, this is I think about fit. So the two that I like are, how are people chosen for heads of department, right? So is it because they want to? Are they forced to? Obviously nobody will ever tell you they're forced to, but they'll say something like, well, it's part of the service. It's an expectation that people will do this sometime in their career, or we are looking for talent, right? We are looking for talent, which is very much what happens at ESAG. Basically means that there is high quality of leadership even at the head of department level, which I think is super important. But imagine you prefer something that is more of an old school model, and people are elected. So this may be important to you, that heads of department are elected, right? Another question is, where was the last time somebody got promoted? I remember when I was at MIT when I finished in 2005, last time somebody got promoted to associate was in 1984. So kind of a rough place. Yeah. So definitely you want to know this. Again, sometimes you don't really know specific country level systems. So for example, in Portugal, where I spent a lot of my career, somebody needs to leave into retirement before you get promoted. So it's important to know this when you're making your choices. Okay, so questions not to ask. First, generic information that is not relevant to you. So for example, what is a school strategy? This is a filler question in most cases. Obviously, if you're somebody that is really interested in strategy in the higher education market, like I am, this would be a natural question for me to answer, because I'm on the board of my business school, so I'm interested in this. Now, this doesn't mean that things that matter to you, you shouldn't ask. Definitely should ask. So, for example, if things like gender equality matter to you, or environmental impact or social responsibility matter to you, then you can and should ask. And you can ask about the school strategy. It just needs to be really a genuine question, rather than just I have to ask 3 questions, so I'll ask this generic question. That really deflates the mood of an interview. I found when it's not genuine. And again, you're sitting in front of very smart people. Everybody in academia is very smart, and people that have been doing this for years, right? So generic information that you don't really care about. Second, questions that you're supposed to know the answer to. And my pet peeve in this is, what is a successful appointment in this job in the next 5 years? I mean, academia is an independent job, so you need to come in knowing what you're expected to do, right? Now, again, the exception here is if you're asking specifics related to the school culture, and then these are good questions. So, for example, at the ESEG, we think that citizenship is important, teaching is important. So I'll ask things like what would be a good service contribution within the scope of 5 years, or when I get to associate professorship, what are some of the ways that I can show commitment to service, right? So this is a good question, right? Because this is specific to the school. It's not like how to be an academic. That you're supposed to know. Again, if it is specific to the school, then that shows A, that you did the research, and B, that you are somewhat aligned with the school's culture. So that's pretty good. So those, yes, ask. The generic one, no. Finally, really bad are questions that are countercultural. That's really bad, because that means you didn't do your research, and that means you're not a fit. At TSEG, we have this super cool model of, we call it balanced excellence, which basically we argue that excellence in teaching and excellence in research reinforce one another. So the question of, what opportunities are there to reduce teaching, that's not a good question. It is a good question, perhaps in other schools, not in ours. So there you need to do your homework, right? Obviously, if you go to one of these pure research institutions, you don't want to ask a lot about teaching, because you're signaling that teaching matters to you more than research. At ESAG, teaching matters a lot, and so some of these things are there. If you need to know this, what I would say is that, I would ask the head of department, but after really making sure that the head of department knows how committed you are and how passionate you are about teaching. Is like, you can say things about, things like, if there's a year where I, really want to, develop some of my teaching, what are the resources for that? And if there's a year where, I need to push a little bit on research, what are the resources for that? Is there some ways of discounts and so on? So, that way you wrap it up in a way that is, that doesn't devalue whatever is the culture in the organization. So, and this is again about doing your homework, speaking with faculty, looking at the university website, and so on. Okay. So overall, what I'd say is the rules that you need to have in when you're thinking about questions are: know the school's culture really well. First question. Second question, ask questions that you are interested in. And third point, ask questions that create a positive mood in the interview as an interaction. Okay, so hope this was helpful. Best of luck to everybody on job market. ESEG is hiring. I'd love to hear from everybody. Obviously, I cannot promise that I'll hire everybody, but I'll definitely look at your files. If you want some help, especially if you're a group that is at structural disadvantage, if you want some help with writing materials, statements and so on, some advice, feel free to get in touch with me. I see that as part. I'm not saying I'm giving back because I never got any help from senior faculty. So basically being a good mentor to compensate for the bad mentorship that I received and which others received as well. Okay, please do get in touch if you want some help or if you have questions. Best of luck to everybody, and keep writing. Ciao. Bye bye.